These young ladies, 77 of them, have completed over 17,000 hours of volunteer service. These honorees have completed, listen to this, over 21,000 hours of volunteer service.
Tonight they will join their predecessors in this rich heritage and tradition as they become part of a legacy.
Since the ball's conception in 1964, young women have volunteered more than 683,300 hours of community service.
More than 702,375 hours of community service.
More than 803,000 hours of service to the community. It deserves that applause. It is certainly a proud legacy.
Well, interestingly, most people think that St. Lucy's was started at the time of the Medallion 50 years ago, but St. Lucy's is an older organization. That it was started probably in the 1950s, and my grandmother, Helen Frovigal, was in that group.
And everybody assumes that the women of my mother's generation were the founding members. They weren't. They were really, in many cases, their mother's generation, in the mid-50s, that were the founding members of it. And they were doing everything to raise money, and they had their daughters, of course, doing the raising of the money.
And they included Ann Hanna, Sue Freibergel, my mother-in-law, and my mother, Rodora Dunna, who was one of the women involved, and Ruth Egler, and there were many others, because to pull an event off like that successfully required the effort and work of many, many women.
Ann Hanna called some of us up to talk about it, about having a presentation ball, and the beneficiaries of it would be the Greater Pittsburgh Guild for the Blind.
Women on the committee were, for the most part, housewives. This is a generation before women's lib, before everybody went to work. They're housewives with 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 kids. It's amazing. And those people came together on this committee. Some of them, it's their first entree out of volunteering beyond their children's school or their local church group or their, but even many of them weren't even, they weren't even volunteers at hospitals yet because they had so much else going on in their lives with little kids. And they came together and had these huge committee meetings. And people in the basement making centerpiece bases, and people in the dining rooms writing invitations. And so many of them started and stayed with it the whole time.
The Medallion Ball is a ball that embraces all religions, all races, all walks of life in young women who have come together to give back to their community.
It's wonderful to watch them grow and develop and take what was really a very small portion of time, but significant in high school years, and grow into giving back on an ongoing basis without any thought about what they're giving up. What they do is receive far more than they give, and they'll tell you this. It's really wonderful to watch them grow like that.
I don't think that you can know unless you give of yourself how much of a difference that can make in somebody's life. But what they did taught them that one person can make a difference, one person can affect change, and that you can truly, just with a smile or a genuine "how are you today," change somebody's day, make their day better.
I have a lot of appreciation for all the women that just came up with this concept 50 years ago. I think it's fascinating. They sat around a kitchen table and said, let's start recognizing young women. Let's recognize them for just being the wonderful people that they are and all that they do, and that it's turned into this awesome event at a hotel where everyone puts on their most fabulous outfits, and we just celebrate, and we get to bring the Bishop of Pittsburgh to recognize this is tremendous. And that the women that started this, all of their children are still involved.
But it's really strikingly important that every time we have the Medallion Ball, every time we have the Vision of Hope Luncheon, it's not just these young girls who are giving their community service. It is women year after year who are dedicating whatever other community project or family matter they have. They come back to St. Lucy's and dedicate their time. And what an incredible role model that is for every girl who becomes a Medallion candidate.
And that they've continued to inspire their daughters and daughters' daughters, and to the place where we are, where I get to inspire my little girls and nieces, and my sister Rebecca's going to chair it next year. So it's fun, you know, it's your year to keep it going.
I think the whole point of Medallion Ball and St. Lucy's Auxiliary is the legacy and the continuing through the generations of giving and service. And to see that young women will do this when they're in high school and continue it through their lives.
I take with me a lot of what I learned growing up within St. Lucy's and watching what it was like to lead and to be humble and to know how to organize and motivate people. All of that came as a product of sort of growing up from high school forward with great mentors and leaders around me within St. Lucy's Auxiliary to the Blind.
42 years ago, when Ann Hannah and a number of other people gathered together and said, we would like to be able to salute and celebrate the young women in this community who are engaged in the wonderful work of helping other people.
So that to me is most amazing, is the number of hours that are given by the girls that they multiply up through the, thousands upon thousands that they quote every year. But nobody talks about how much is given back by the women who were Medallion girls or who were Medallion volunteers, and all else that they do and have done and have accomplished through the years. So that's what makes me most proud, not just those young women in white dresses, but what they become.
Thanks to all of you for your involvement in this wonderful event, especially and particularly the parents of these wonderful honorees. Thank you for what you have taught them and encouraged from them. A lifetime of service to others, modeled in the life of Joan of Arc and founded in Jesus himself.